I can call to order the meeting of the Board of Education for School District 59. It is Wednesday, December 11th at 6 p.m. Secretary Eddie, could you call the roll, please?
Zach, absent. Eddie, present. Johnson.
Here.
Kitzinger. Here. Notini.
Here.
Sager.
Here.
Chesney, absent.
All right. Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first under board recognitions is the community outreach presentation. Dr. Bressan?
All right, so I'm very pleased tonight. I think our team is sitting in front of us, kind of questioning what exactly is going to be happening in this presentation. But we have an amazing team of community outreach specialists here in District 59. And when I began this job 4 years ago, I think there was only 3. And I'm so excited that we were able to double our staff, I think, after the first year together. And so we have 6 of our community outreach specialists who are here. We also have a family engagement specialist who works with our early learning staff who will be joining us as well. And our director of social emotional learning and student supports, Ashley Robertson, is here with us as well. And so we thought it was the perfect time of year, being the holiday season, to highlight some of the amazing work that this team does each and every day, not only for the staff and the students in District 59 across all of our 15 schools, but really across all of our communities. And so I wanted to take this opportunity tonight with our board for Ashley to come forward and maybe just share a few highlights about the work of this team and some of the things that they do, especially around this holiday season.
Thank you so much for having us. I'd like to share just a little bit about what the community outreach team does. We've really evolved over the last several years. It really started when I started to oversee the position. It was really just helping families and kind of engaging them in school activities, making sure that they had what they need. And now we really go above and beyond for our families. We are really grateful for the support from our community and the District 59 Ed Foundation, and really helping make some of these things possible for our family. So as you know, many of you have attended many of our district-wide events, the back-to-school events and the fall festivals. During the holidays, we host a Toys for Tots event partnered with Trinity Lutheran Church and Toys for Tots, which will actually be on Saturday. And even that event has grown. When we started, we were welcoming 100 kiddos by invite only. This year, we have expanded to 250 kids, so we are really excited and have been planning for that. For Thanksgiving, we also send food home to our families in need. We do the same for Christmas, so you may see some food out here in the hallway. We've been busy packing and shopping this week. In addition to that, they also help support holiday initiatives at their building. So every building does some sort of holiday support. It all looks a little bit different, but the goal is really just to wrap around our families, particularly our families that need a little extra help during the holiday season, to make sure that they have what they need. We haven't counted numbers this year, but last year we supported over 1,600 kids in our district, which is something to really be proud of. That's really during the holiday season. In addition to that, we do a winter coat drive to make sure all of our kids and families have coats. I delivered 40 coats to a school today, so we were actively working before the cold front to make sure everyone had what they need. And then in the day-to-day, they are working to make sure our families have access to all of the things that they need: internet, insurance, housing, clothing, furniture, all of those things, helping with applications. This is a group of people who is incredibly devoted to the work and incredibly devoted to making sure that our families and students find success. They are such a hard working group of people who work lots of hours to make sure that our families have what they need. And I am so honored that I get to work alongside them and really get to lead this amazing group of people.
Awesome. Ashley, would you mind if we introduced each of our community outreach specialists who are with us tonight?
Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you can let us know your name and then what school specifically you work with would be wonderful.
Okay, so hi everybody. I'm new to the district. I just started in August, which I'm excited that I was even given the opportunity. Thank you. Such a wonderful team I'm working with, which made my transition really easy here. So again, my name's Alejandra Gutierrez and I work at Friendship and Frost. Mhm.
My name is Adriana de la Torre. I support Ridge, Rupley, and Juliet Low, and this is my third school year in the district, but I think I'm close to maybe 20 years in the district.
Hi, everyone. My name is Melissa Tejeda. I support John Jay, Holmes, and Devonshire, and this is my 9th year in the district.
Hello, my name is Arlette Antunes. I support Bird and Salt Creek. This is my 3rd year as community outreach, but I've been in the district since 2016, so 9 years.
Hi, my name is Nellie Perez, and I support Grove Junior High and 4th and 5th grade at Rupley, and I've been in the district for 18 years.
Hello, everyone. My name is Marlon Sr., saving the best for last. I support Forest View, Claremont, and Brentwood, and I've been working in this district since 2019. Thank you.
So, and it's not just collecting things and giving out things or connecting to resources. What they do is they build relationships. And I think what you'll find when you see all of these amazing staff members working in their schools is that they are the trusted faces and people that families connect with. So when there is a family in need, and that can range from a lot of different needs, they are the go-to people. They are go-to peoples for our building administrators. They really help support those connections and just being that face within the community. So thank you so much for all that you do, especially around this really, really busy holiday season. But we're going to shift gears a little bit because that's not actually why we invited you here tonight. So amongst you, there is someone who is actually going to receive some special recognition, and we wanted to take this opportunity to do so. So in the state of Illinois, we have the ability to nominate school employees who are outstanding staff members and who demonstrate excellence. And they become nominees for a program that is supported by the U.S. Department of Education. So it is a national level award. And this year, the award is called Recognizing Inspiring School Employees, or RISE, as it is known. And our state superintendent, Dr. Tony Sanders, actually, unfortunately, couldn't be here to make this announcement himself, but there will be quite a big to-do as these announcements are made. So there are actually 2 nominees who will represent the entire state of Illinois, and one of them is standing amongst us tonight. So I am very, very excited to announce that Arlette Antunes is one of 2 Illinois nominees who will represent our state for the RISE Award as an outstanding school employee. So, Arlette, if I could have you come forward to the podium, please. So we recognize that being part of a team, we wanted to honor all of the work that everyone does. But we wanted to also take this opportunity to recognize the outstanding work that you have been recognized for tonight. So I am going to queue up now, ask Mr. Gray to queue up. Unfortunately, Dr. Sanders, our state superintendent, wasn't able to be here, but he has a special message for our community and for Arlette.
Exemplary service to our schools. Arlette, being nominated for the RISE Award is a testament to your dedication and commitment, and we thank you for the positive impact that you've made as a community outreach specialist in District 59. You've demonstrated how essential the work of classified employees is to students' success and how integral classified employees are to a school culture. From organizing cultural celebrations to back-to-school events to holiday assistance programs, you excel at creating vital systems of support that foster an environment where students can succeed and feel valued. Your contributions remind us of the power of community and the difference one person can make in improving the lives of students and families. Congratulations on this well-deserved honor, and we can't wait to see what you accomplish next.
So also here to say a few words is one of your building principals, Mr. Larry Gannon from Bird. Yeah. This was a very difficult secret to keep, I would like you to know. And these are flowers on behalf of Miss Rodriguez and the staff from Salt Creek in recognition. She could not be here, unfortunately, tonight either.
So I've never had to follow the state superintendent, so I'm a little bit nervous, but I think everything that everyone said about everything that all of you guys do on a day-to-day basis is remarkable, but Arlette, I had to come when I found out. It was the hardest secret for me to keep I think I've ever had. I almost let it slip like 10 times that you won this award. But to speak to the job that they have to do to build those trusting relationships with our families, it doesn't happen overnight. She is working constantly, making those connections with our families. And I can't tell you how much we rely on her expertise and her support when we have families dealing with day-to-day difficulties, as well as some things that just happen out of nowhere. We've had a house fire and Arlette has stepped in and really helped support the family and get them what they needed. We've had instances like that with kids needing winter coats, everything. And just to have that person by my side that I know I can say, Arlette, this is what I'm hearing. Is there anything we can do? And to watch her just jump into action and get families everything they need is truly remarkable. I think it's easy to think about all the things that are happening right now with the holidays. So we do at Bird an Adopt a Bird family every year. And every year it's grown since I've been there. And this year we were able to provide gifts for over 100 students so that they can experience the joys of the holiday season. And it was all a testament to her. Right now, if you go in our lounge, it is full of toys, all organized, all put together by her. And I just cannot say anything else about her. Just the support that she provides our school is tremendous. And there is not a more deserving person in this world. So congratulations, Arlette. Okay, thank you.
So Arlette, I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you have any words that you would like to share, you are welcome to do so now.
Well, I'm just grateful. I'm surprised, and no words. But I mean, I wouldn't be able to do this, but obviously with the support of my coworkers and my boss, and it's just, you can just go to them for any little thing. I mean, I'm new to the position and I'm still learning. We always are learning, right? But they are great at always being answer all my questions that I have. And some of us are more experts in other fields like Medicaid applications and things like that. So I'm very grateful that, I can just always rely on them. And obviously it takes a village and it takes the whole team to, put everything together and support our families. I'm just grateful for everyone.
So there will be lots more statewide announcements being made and shared, stories being shared out on social media. There will be more to come in the spring as this award does move to the national level. So congratulations again. Most importantly, I want to just say thank you to our entire team. You make a difference each and every day, and sometimes it's not recognized at all levels. And I wanted to make sure that we took this time tonight to really share with our entire community and our Board of Education to just say a sincere thank you and congratulations. Any board members?
Thank you.
Yeah, I think everybody said it perfectly. And a lot of the learning that takes place that kind of has center stage here at these meetings a lot of the time doesn't happen unless the families are supported and the kids can come into an environment and not have to worry about some of those things that you all help support them with every day. So it's great to see that work is recognized and we appreciate it. And I think everybody kind of alluded to that before, but thank you for all that you all do, especially Arlette. Thank you.
I would just echo the same thing. I know the work that you guys put in. I see you at the district-wide events, and I know that the wraparound services that we provide to our students and the families, when you can help, like you said, help a student get glasses or deal with small issues, but those small issues for some families compound on top of other issues. And when we can, as a community, come together and connect them with the resources they need, which I know you are all experts on, that's when it sets up our students to really get the best educational experience they can. So thank you all, and especially you,
I'm so thankful for all of you. You do a lot for our kids. It shows, and your passion shows, and we are so thankful for all of you, and congratulations, Arlette.
Yeah, just real quick, I just like to say, I know I haven't been in the district for a while as a parent, but I have worked with some of you, and I know I have some idea of what you do, and I have worked with some of you even since I've been a parent in the district. So I can really see how much you work to connect with our community and help our students. And thank you so much for everything.
I think being in the district for 7, almost 8 years now, I don't think I've ever seen a district that has so many people that are helping, and again, helping through the day and night. It's not just a school job. It is a career that is really building those rapports with those families. So thank you.
All right, so we are going to go into a brief recess that our board president will send us into, and we have some refreshments out in the hallway for all of our audience and our community outreach specialist team to enjoy, so we could take some pictures and celebrate a little bit with Arlette, and then we will return immediately after to continue the remainder of our board meeting. So we can gavel into recess. I know we can, because our meeting actually began at 6, we can start with our next presentation as soon as we're done with our brief reception.
Okay, just need a motion to recess for the reception. It's fine.
You can just make a motion.
I move that we go into recess for the reception.
Oh, I'll second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Our video feed will return when we come back into session. So thank you.
We are back in session. It is time for 3.02, our fiscal year 2024 annual audit from Baker Tilly.
Now I'm on. Sorry about that. As I was saying, my name is Joe Lightcap, Managing Director with Baker Tilly. I'm the final reviewer of your audit work and your financial statements. I'm here to present two reports tonight: the annual comprehensive financial report, the large document that you have with your logo on the front, and then the audit results letter, which is a much smaller document if you have that from us. If you just have it electronically, it's not a big deal. I won't be going through that too much, just be given an overview. But those are the two documents that I'll be going over tonight at very high level. I'll mention some pages in the annual comprehensive financial report. But if you have any questions, stop me at any time, or if you've had a chance to review it and you have any questions prepared, anytime you have them, feel free to stop me. Before I get going, I do want to thank the business office for their help in helping us through the audit. We ask for a lot of information. We ask a lot of questions. We always get great timely response, thorough responses, and the district is always well prepared for our arrival. We show up, we have a lot of information ready for us to get going, and it's a smooth process. It's a good relationship with the business office. So with the annual comprehensive financial report, the large document, as the name suggests, it's a comprehensive document. It's more information than is required by accounting standards. It has a transmittal letter in the front that provides some good information on the district's policies and history. And then in the back of the document, it has some statistical information. So it has 10 years worth of trend information. So you can see how the district has fared over the last 10 years. It's really good to see kind of the history there. The financial information within ISB takes that and they give you a profile score. So before I get going kind of into the numbers, this year, once again, the district's estimated score is 4.0, which is the highest score you can get based on your finances and the metrics that ISB deems important. So that's good. Obviously, you can't get any higher than this recognition. So good job there. On page 1 of the document is the independent auditor's report. This is our 3 pages from us. This entire document is district information. These are our 3 pages. This opinion is once again a clean or unmodified opinion. States that the information within is reasonable in all material respects, can reasonably relied upon by an outside user of the financial statements. And you know, there's no modifications to the letter, so a clean opinion, what you want to see in your audit opinion. There were no new accounting policies adopted during the year, so the form and function of this report is very consistent with what you've seen in the prior year. There will be some statements coming down the pike for future years, but right now there was no accounting standards, no changes to the presentation this year. Following the opinion on page 5 is the management's discussion and analysis. This is the story behind the numbers written by management. The rest of the document is very kind of technical and a lot of schedules, a lot of financial information, a lot of notes to the financial statements. This is really a good document to go and get a good high level of understanding of what happened during the year. There's a comparison to the prior year, and it kind of gives a good narrative story about what happened. So it's a lot more straightforward and easier to kind of get that understanding than the rest of the document. So I really always like to point that out as a place to go to get that information. It really is kind of self-explanatory. So I'll go past that a little bit to page 12, which is the statement of net position. This is really the only time during the year where you see financial information for the district as a whole, all of your funds, all of your accounts, your assets, your liabilities, and this is a long-term perspective. So it has capital assets, so all of your buildings, your equipment at historical cost, depreciated every year based on their estimated useful lives, and all of your long-term debt outstanding, including your net pension obligations. So this is all of the financial information in this page, page 12, and then page 13, which is the statement of activities. So the income statement side of your entity-wide financial statements. At the bottom, you can see that net position increased by about $24.8 million, pretty similar to what it had increased in the prior year. This is really due to fiscal year revenue exceeding expenditures and improvement in some of the long-term liabilities, the net pension and OPEB liabilities, so the future costs of healthcare and retirement that the district will pay. So there's some improvements in those areas. A lot of it was what was done at the state level a couple of years ago that you don't have any control of, but it is in your financial statements nonetheless. Starting on page 14 is the fund financial statements. This is probably, more information what you would normally see on a month-to-month basis. So this is the governmental funds balance sheet, and it's a short-term perspective. So it's short-term receivables and payables, more like what you'll collect shortly after year end or pay after year end. So it's much more short-term perspective. It kind of gives you that that look at the finances by fund. On pages 17 and 18 is the income statement for these funds, so the revenues and expenditures. When we look at the operating funds or the educational general fund, operations and maintenance, transportation, and IMRF, fund balance increased by about $348,000. So just a slight increase due to the district being able to fund capital projects out of fund balance. So there's a lot of unrestricted revenues in the capital projects fund that go there so that the district can be well planned for future improvements. Overall, there is about 10.37 months in reserves in those operating funds. So you have some good reserves in case there's delays at the county level for your property taxes. They come in, primarily twice a year, or any delays in state and federal funding. Following that, income statement is the notes to the financial statements and then the budget to actual schedules. So you can see in the back, you can see how the funds fared in relation to what you had planned, how you had planned at the beginning of the year. Provides some good information for future planning and future budgeting. It's really all I had prepared for the financial statements. Before I get to the other letter for our audit report, I wanted to take a pause there and see if there's any questions on the financial numbers or the annual comprehensive financial report itself.
It's not really a question, but I just wanted to clarify that the government-wide financial statements were showing basically $24 million of net income. That's after all expenses. And then 13 million on the fund financial statements when I'm looking on page 18. Yep, I just want to clarify that. Pretty large numbers and for net income for a school district. I really just think this is a really good report to understand the operations of the district. I used to be an auditor, a government auditor, so I do know what goes into this. This is no small feat. Yeah. But I just really would like to this report has the most detail, I think, of anything that the board ever really sees in terms of financial information. So I just wanted to clarify that we are talking about some pretty substantial net income numbers that we need to be investing back in our schools. And I just definitely will use this report to to foster our discussions.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, if there are no other questions on the annual financial report, the other report is the reporting and insights letter from the 2024 audit. This report is from us and it satisfies our communications to the board and management. So auditing standards say that we have to tell you a bunch of things about our audit, and this report does that. It talks about our responsibilities for the audit to provide the opinion and to look at internal control over financial reporting. It talks about the district.
I'm sorry, Joe. It's a separate report that will be in the Friday update, just so you guys know.
Sorry. Okay. So this spoiler, it's a very boilerplate and pretty boring letter. So when you get to that either electronically, there's nothing of too big concern being reported in this letter. But like I was saying, it does talk about our responsibilities and management's responsibilities to have effective internal controls over financial reporting, to prepare the financial information and all of that. It talks about any significant estimates or significant areas in our audit and things that we look at in our audit. And also, if there were disagreements with management or trouble performing the audit, we would disclose those in here. Again, it's very much a boilerplate letter. It's a clean letter. It's very good news in this letter. Regarding internal controls, we look at internal controls of the district at a fairly high level to determine the nature, timing, and extent of our audit procedures. We don't provide an opinion on internal controls. That's not what an audit does. But if we were to see something that we felt the board should know about, or that could potentially result in a material misstatement of the financial statements, we would put that in this letter. I'm happy to report that there are no internal control comments for the boards to understand in this letter. So again, a clean letter. And then finally, on the second page of the letter, it has my contact information. Should you have any questions throughout the year, not just when I'm out here or when we call on a board member to talk about the year or any thoughts that board member might have, but really throughout the year, if you have any questions, I'm there to answer them. So feel free to use the contact information there. With that, I'll open it up on any questions on our audit process or anything like that.
I have a quick question about like the change in net position. Like I'm looking at the year over year on page 88. So when it says change in net position from 2023, does that mean we had like a $27.9 million surplus, or is that just like what the ending balance? Is that like each year we had that surplus, or is that like a change?
That's each year's surplus.
Got it.
The ending net position is on page 86, where you can see what it was at the end of every year.
Okay, thank you.
And again, out of that 24 million, like 11 plus was due to actuarial numbers for pension and OPEBs. Well, your costs for those, so the future costs of your retirement done by an actuary to say what your liability is in the future, a large number of that net position increase is because of those numbers. It doesn't necessarily impact your annual amount that you pay for retirement, but it does potentially bear on the district's future finances. It's a different look at kind of what is in those numbers compared to the fund balance.
So like 11, our potential liability in the future could be $11 million less?
Yes.
It doesn't mean we got $11 million in cash to spend.
Correct.
Got it.
Is it correct the fund financials, though, do not include any of those actuarial liabilities?
Correct.
Okay.
They just have the current period cost of pensions and
Okay, so that
insurance.
13 million is more of just a
Correct.
regular estimate or regular, not estimate, that's our actual net income.
Correct.
Okay, great. Can I ask who prepares this report? This physical,
We assist the district in preparing the annual comprehensive financial report based on district numbers, and they do prepare the statistical information and the MD&A and the transmittal letter, but the schedules, the statements and schedules and notes, we prepare that based on the district information.
How long does the audit field work take?
I think we're 100% focused to the district for about 2.5 to 3 weeks. And then there's questions back and forth, review and things like that takes longer.
Anybody else? Good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next, comments and suggestions from the public. Nobody signed up. Anybody wish to address the board tonight? If not, we can move on to our monthly updates. Dr. Bresnan?
All right. So just to recap some of the work that has taken place over the last month since we've last been together, I wanted to highlight from my perspective and my direct work, we are in the process of working with NSSEO as member districts on their strategic planning process. So last week and this week, we spent a full day, and that would include Dr. Degree, our executive director for special education, as well as Ron O'Connor was with me and myself, all of our representing member districts, many representatives from NSSEO, as well as 2 board members from the member districts. So it was 2 full days of strategic planning that was facilitated and ultimately will lead to their next 5-year strategic plan. The communication team has continued to work under the leadership of our director, Rachel Jabsky, working with our board members as well as with our larger internal group and committee to really start building our communication strategic plan. So we have 2 of our board members who are focusing in on some of those strategic initiatives for the board, as well as the larger group, which is going to help frame how we approach communication to meet the needs of our district moving forward. And then lastly, I shared with the board this past week, Vision 2030. That is a statewide initiative facilitated through IASA. For those who may recall, there was Vision 2020, which really helped bring about our evidence-based funding as one of those initiatives. For Vision 2030, I actually had the opportunity to co-chair the accountability portion of that and that working group, and we really are anticipating some significant changes in our state report card and state accountability system, including our statewide assessments. And so very excited about that. Next month, we will be asking the board to acknowledge their support of Vision 2030 through board action. And so hopefully you can look at all of those materials that were shared with you and get a better idea of all of the comprehensive work that has happened across the entire state in that area. Speaking of accountability and assessment, we've been working on our winter benchmarking, which will help us really not only guide the remainder of our year and how we support students, but also help us in our planning phases for resource allocation and all of that moving forward. So there's definitely impact on our winter benchmarking and a couple of our other departments as well. And then we're going to start, we're already starting our preparations for our statewide IAR assessment that will take place in the spring. And then we continue our professional learning planning. So we have our next Institute Day, which will be the Monday immediately following winter break. So it's 2 weeks plus 1 day for our kids, but our staff will be back on that Monday. What's nice is that it's common across many of our districts and District 214 in the area. So we'll have a lot of opportunities for people to participate in collaborative outside of district opportunities, as well as many options and choices internally. You can see there we have over 50 plus options for staff coming up on January 6th. Following up on our business services. So we have been looking at different demographers who, as the board has requested that we embark on some boundary and enrollment studies to update what we're looking at that will align and really support our long-term facilities study. And so we've met with 2 different demographer groups, and we have 1 more that we're going to be looking at. We hope to bring a recommendation in January so that work will directly align with the work of WOLD. We continue to monitor our food service and our transportation just to ensure that those services that are provided by third-party vendors are meeting our needs. There was a great positive story that our communications department shared just today. I believe it went live on our website about our food service and how our junior high students from, I believe, Holmes. We had a couple of students who were in a WIN class that took it upon themselves to say, hey, we'd really like to see improvements in our food service. So they emailed me, and I said it would be great to connect them with our food service department and with Organic Life. So now not only did they meet with home students, but they've met with all 3 of our junior high students and really implementing some of their suggestions for improvement. And they really wanted to ensure that we were providing more, some healthier options, as well as being mindful of allergies and other nutritional needs of students. So it was a great opportunity for education, with one of our partners. And then our ELC HVAC project is going to be kicking off on December 18th with that meeting, so we can begin the planning for that project to take place over next summer. For curriculum and instruction, we are excited. It is hard to believe that we are already planning for our kindergarten information nights. I feel like we just did them, but those will be coming up January 28th, 29th, and 30th. So please spread the word to all of our families or incoming families who have students who will be of kindergarten age. We are really, I want to thank our instruction department, who every year is trying to refine and improve those information nights to make them really effective and meaningful for our incoming families. And we know this is the first opportunity to engage with many of them. They're doing a really nice job and partnering with our communications department. So there's some video production that's happening where we can really highlight and showcase all of the opportunities and programs available in District 59 as an incoming kindergartner, so that all parents can make informed choices about the start of their careers in 59. We continue in our dual language program to focus on our current year's goal, which is around assessment. And so that work is continuing with the task force and with other teams involved, and really aligning as well with our literacy work to ensure that our assessment are aligned to really support our goals of biliteracy. And at the board's request, in January, we're going to have a presentation from some of our dual language and newcomer staff and instruction department leaders to talk about curriculum and how we are continue to meet the needs of our multilingual learners. And then just a quick update on varsity tutors, that continues to be expanded and utilized across the district, both supporting those opportunities for at-home access, as well as those small group opportunities that we're using within our classroom settings under the facilitation of our classroom teachers. In HR, we continue our first year implementation of our new positions for facilitators of teacher mentoring. So ensuring that we're supporting our certified news staff, as well as really looking at opportunities with our current student teachers. So any of our current student teachers who may be graduating in December, it is a great opportunity for us to have some mid-year hiring opportunities. So we make sure we stay connected with those, and if they we have positions available where we can hire them or even get them in to start subbing, it's always a great opportunity, especially since they've been with us since the start of the year. And then we are preparing for that time of year where we will be going to job fairs and ensuring that we have active recruitment for all of our openings for new positions, as well as those positions through retirements and other reasons. So in preparation for, as I mentioned before, our resource allocation, we will be presenting in January to the board our first discussion around what our needs are. And so we do that on an annual basis. I think our community outreach specialists were a good example of what are our needs. Our needs are not being met. We are requesting from the board that we expand that, and that's how we resulted in 3 additional positions for that team. So similarly, we look at where are some shifts that can happen, where are expansions that can happen in terms of new positions or expanded positions. Please keep in mind, this does not include when we have an increase in class size numbers or things like that. Those happen on an annual as needed basis from both a special education caseload perspective, as well as just enrollments and class sizes.
Sorry, can I just ask a question about the like an actual? I knew what tonight was about, but so do they have like a specific budget for like the community outreach, or are they mostly like trying to get donations or?
So we have funds that are local funds existing from internal. We also have funds that are we partner with our education foundation, and so there are funds that are allocated for those pieces, and then other grant type funds or donation type funds that support the work that they do.
Okay, I'm just saying. I mean, I hadn't really thought about it before, but like the more we make that transition from home life to school life easier with their work, but also if we need additional funds to put into that, I think it's well worth it to bring the kids to school in the best possible circumstances. So
Absolutely. And I will say, especially around the holiday time, or as I think Mr. Gannon shared earlier, when there's, for example, like a house fire, we have access to immediate funds. But I will say our staff immediately are donating and giving of their own resources to support at holiday time. There's adopting of families or donations that we solicit from the broader community as well. So it's a good balance. I think internally we have good funding mechanisms. We are very fortunate in this district that if there is a need, we are able to fill it. So appreciate that as well.
I have a few questions on this slide, if that's okay. Just for the preparing for job fair recruitment, I just have a question. Do we go on campus? Do we go on to college campuses and do recruiting?
Yeah.
We do. And that work actually starts this month and next month. So there are a number of different universities. There are some situations where universities will all collaboratively work together. We've gone in-state, out of state. We've gone for specific job groups, for general job groups. Absolutely.
Sure. Okay. And just another question on the resource allocation. As I mentioned, I really want the board to look at this report. This is really the best way to just kind of see what the operations of the district are. It's broken down by fund, by department. I met with Ron recently, and he answered a lot of my questions. And I just really feel that this report a lot of my questions came down to resource allocation. That's what it's all about. But I would really like to see, I don't know if it's a finance committee meeting for the board where we can talk about this report and maybe kind of contribute to this resource allocate, or at least I know there's questions. I have a lot of questions on how resources are allocated, specifically with staff. So I just wonder if that could happen before the presentation in January.
So that will be the kickoff where all of that information is really shared. So I think what would be helpful, maybe we can carve out some time to look at past resource allocations. So you can see like our methodology. We significantly changed our approach to resource allocation about 2, maybe 3 years ago, where we shifted away from every building gets 1 or every X gets X to let's look at on an annual basis. What are our students' needs? And then what are those resources and how do those fit those needs? So now we really have a needs-based allocation. So, our MTSS and our assessments will now dictate, okay, how many students fall into tier 3 and tier 2 intervention needs? So how do we look at how we allocate our interventionists across our schools based on those criteria? So that's just one facet of it, but Ross does a really nice job. When we have an ask, it's supported then with what is the potential financial impact, salaries, benefits, et cetera, of any additional increased positions, as well as, how did we arrive at that request for that, then we can discuss at that time with the full board.
Okay. I mean, I'd still like to have this finance committee meeting.
Oh yeah, that is separate from the resource. We can, when at the board's discretion, we can call a meeting and whenever you'd like.
So our next meeting, so we'll have the resource thing for is it January 8th our next one, or is it the
January 15th, I believe,
Okay.
is our next meeting.
Okay.
So if we want to start, we could do a 6 o'clock facilities finance, or just even pure finance, and then 7 o'clock start that, and then this will be one of the discussion items.
Yeah, no, it sounds good. I'd like them to go together. I think they all kind of go together.
Yeah, yes, they absolutely one impacts the other for sure. All right, in terms of student services and support, we are continuing to train and enhance our use of Crisis Go, which is our emergency response system that really helps us not only with threat assessments, but also in an emergency. How do we ensure that everybody is aware when an emergency is happening? And so we did a district-wide training for all staff and conducted some tests, got some useful feedback in return from staff to ensure that everyone has access, that rosters and all of that are updated. So should an emergency occur, how do we utilize this tool to account for all staff and students? That leads us also to our reunification task force. So in the event of a crisis where perhaps students are separated or staff are separated, or we have to move to another site for reunification. You see examples of that when a school crisis happens, where they move to an offsite location for safety, and then how do we reunite them with their families and account for them? So we build that process. We've got a really positive response from staff who want to participate in that. And we actually we are partnering with District 21 so that if we are in crisis, their staff who are available and not in crisis can help support us and vice versa. So that's an exciting opportunity and partnership that we will be continuing to work on. And then, as we've already highlighted, we've had an extraordinary amount of the holiday financial help and opportunities just to really support our families in the holiday celebrations. Cartwheel, which we've spoken about before, is our new virtual mental health resource. So it is fully up and functional. We have not yet recommended any students for that, but it is ready should we need it. So that is an exciting opportunity that we have. One more resource to put in our tool belts to support students. And then, as we said, winter benchmarking is underway, and that will help us inform our allocations for our interventionists per school.
I have a quick question on Cartwheel. Are parents made aware that it's available? Like, could a parent initiate, the resources?
The process for Cartwheel is that our social workers and administrators would make decisions on which students they're referring to Cartwheel, and then would contact the parent for consent to share information, and then Cartwheel would reach out to that family.
All right. And last but not least, technology and innovation. So we are working on our long-term technology plan. So just updating from a 10-year perspective, this is really, do we have all of the systems and supports in place, and what does that refresh cycle really look like to maintain a robust and secure network for our learning and functions to take place? So that is underway, as well as our cybersecurity planning, which we've talked about. We actually did training out at all of the schools to support everyone to implement their two-factor authentication process. Again, one more layer that we can add into our system to help protect our information. And then continuing to identify any additional areas. It just seems like more and more incidents are happening across both publicly and in private sectors, and it's a lot to plan for and be prepared for. And then lastly, as we've spoken about before, our innovation staff advisory team has convened and is really excited and opening up and exploring what we want to do in terms of student devices and what that refresh will look like, and being able to build a recommendation to bring for the board for the 25-26 school year. Team, did I miss anything that needed to be highlighted? Awesome.
Any questions? If not, we can move on to 5.02, long-range planning.
All right, so this hopefully is not too overwhelming, but what my hope was in building this as a separate presentation was to start putting some of our puzzle pieces together. We've talked about dual language. We've talked about our WOLD facilities long-range planning. We've talked about a demography study. We've talked about, our curriculum initiatives. And so I think, Michelle, you made the point. All of these things are interconnected. And so I want to look at it under a large umbrella of how are we going to create a long-range plan for District 59, so we can see that we're not going to look at anything in isolation. We have to look at it in tandem of every other moving part, because one always impacts the other. So what I thought I would do is just kind of create this comprehensive plan, idea, or concept, open it up for questions. And so you can kind of see where each of these pieces is going to fit as questions come up. And you may have a question of like, what's happening with early childhood? That's great. How are we going to look at that in context of a long range plan and not just in isolation?
I always forget. Can you remind, when does our current strategic plan?
Yep.
Not that it directly aligns, but when does that end?
Yeah, so that will be part of what I'll show as well. But we are in year 4 of our 5-year plan. So just like NSSEO, now is the time we want to start thinking about how are we planning for the 5 years beyond that. Okay, so kicking it off, we wanted to, in order to look forward, we have to first look back. So in thinking about my first 3 years in the district and halfway through my 4th year here, we've really made some pretty substantial changes to meet the needs of our students, really utilizing our strategic plan as well as board identified priorities as our guiding factors. So this is not a comprehensive list. I probably could have gone 3 slides with all of the amazing things that have happened. But I want to, again, say this is a culmination of a lot of efforts and teamwork that have worked strategically through that plan. So, again, we've eliminated our multi-grade classrooms, like getting rid of practices that we know are not supporting our student needs. We've had incredible opportunities to expand early childhood, both to our 5-day model, as well as just the number of students that we're servicing, as well as moving to a secondary location. And now we're going to have even more opportunities as we move forward to explore those. We've had a significant number of shifts in our dual language programming that we're really identifying through data collection and through the audit. So just slowly making those shifts that we can internally to better support our dual language programs. We've touched every facet of our curriculum. We've built a curriculum framework that we really utilize to ensure that when we analyze and implement curriculum, we are doing it in a well thought out and well planned out way that is supportive and collaborative with our staff. We've improved and implemented our SEL, our social emotional learning curriculum and resources for staff, as well as our culturally and linguistically responsive teaching and learning practices. That has involved a lot of professional development, a lot of additional resources, again, to better support our staff in meeting the needs of our students. This year, we are focusing in on our professional learning communities, which has been an ongoing piece, but this year is really a targeted area and has had already significant impact in how our teachers are collaborating. We expanded PE, which did not used to meet even the state expectation. So excited about that, as well as our art and music programs, especially at the elementary level. We will be implementing a new junior high schedule next year. So that's gone through several iterations, and that collaborative work is really going to land us in a great spot for next year. We have dramatically expanded our access to interventions for students based on their needs, as well as expanding our resources to support those interventions, and then creating protected time within our schedules, when time, what I need, so that those interventions can take place without detriment to losing out on other academic areas that our students need as well. We have expanded our educational life skills program, ELS. So we had a shift at the junior high level and moved it from one building to another. We've also now expanded this year from 1 elementary to 2 elementaries and continue to support those growing needs for our students. We've done a significant number of facilities repairs and additions and enhancements, not just at Brentwood, but across the district. Our secure vestibules, parking spots, storage, all of those types of things have been ongoing, regular things, in addition to our maintenance and regular life safety pieces. We have really taken a deep dive into how we provide and monitor our professional learning system for staff, and making sure that it is a collaborative and needs-based approach. And then enhancing our safety and security. We modified our director of safety position, as well as implemented a number of enhancements in the area of safety and security at all of our school locations, and continue to do so. And then really overall, I think all of those things have really dramatically changed the culture and climate of our schools. When I look at our staff and we get that, kind of anecdotal feedback, we are in a place that is fostering and building trust. We are creating opportunities for shared leadership. We are ensuring that people feel valued and seen and a part of this system, and treated as professionals, which I think is something to be really proud of. So now we've also impacted a significant amount of our student growth, which ultimately is why we do all those other things. So how are students growing and learning as a result of those strategic moves and changes that we have made? I don't want to beat this one to death, so we'll just go to the next slide, because I think we regularly share and showcase how much our students have grown, both in reading and math and in their language acquisition. Our key performance indicators through our strategic plan have really, we are well on our way to achieving those. That's also improved our intervention provision rate. Again, how many students are being serviced. And then the last piece, which feels a little bit more around that culture and climate, we have seen really substantial increases in our sense of belonging by both our students and our staff, which are now landing in like the 90th percentiles in our panorama data. And that's something that, again, less tangible, but just as meaningful. So while we have done all of those things, there still remains areas that we need to address. And as we've talked about as a board, we have internally touched and pulled almost every mechanism that we have access to as an internal leadership team, staff team, working in partnership with our staff, our teachers. What is required next is going to really land on the purview of the board. There are some other substantial changes that can and should be made, but those are going to rely on the mechanisms that the board ultimately has decision-making power for. So looking at those identified areas of need that still exist. So I kind of lumped it into 3 specific categories. So from a programming, what directly impacts how our students receive their services that they have been identified as needing. So we need to substantially address how we provide programming for our multilingual learners. That's encompassing of both our newcomers who fall into that category, as well as our dual language program for both Polish and Spanish, to ensure that it is on par and there is parity that exists between that program and our monolingual programs. Early childhood, as I said, we've touched so many aspects and grown it, but how do we continue? Because we know that's where we can maximize the biggest bang for our buck with impacting students and their growth trajectories. TDP is one that we've already started a review of, but in order to really move forward with that program, we're going to need to really look at how does that function within the school settings currently, and how could it function in a different way if there were some changes to be made. Specials, by this I mean art, music, PE, our fine arts, our performing arts, our specials that occur at the junior high. Some of it is limited by our facilities. Some of that is limited by class sectioning. Some of it is limited by our enrollment numbers. So again, when I say all of these things are intertwined, so how do we create the best schedule to allow for those enhanced opportunities? Well, we got to look at everything else as well. And then I never want to lose sight of how we provide supports for special education. Again, whether it's in partnership with NSSEO or all of those programs and needs that we support in the least restrictive environment within their home schools or within their designated program schools, we need to make sure that those needs are being met from both a legal perspective and really a student needs perspective. That ties into facilities, which is probably the area that as a board you are most familiar with what our areas of need are. We need to be able to teach in appropriate spaces how we need to teach for today and leading into the future, which is how do we create those small group spaces? How do we ensure that our buildings have the capacity to support the number of students in appropriately sectioned classrooms, right? So it's not just how many classrooms do we have, but how many students are in each of those classrooms and what grade level are those classes? Those are all things that we look at when we talk about capacity. Our gym spaces, we are going to have a state-of-the-art, amazing, beautiful gym at Brentwood. And we are now going to create a standard for perhaps what could lead the way of what we want to identify as a need across our other buildings. Ensuring that maintenance of everything that we put in place, are we maintaining it? Because that, again, is something that occurs on an annual basis that needs to be budgeted for. And then I threw parking in there because we talk about resource allocation. In the last 10 years, we have added over 140 new staff positions, new positions. In the last 4 years, I think it's been 80. We need places for them to park because I'll tell you, that is just as important, right? And so, and we're very blessed that our schools are in neighborhoods, and that impacts everybody else around us. So I don't want to lose sight of all those little pieces that go in with that. And then looking again, enrollment and boundaries. which we're going to study as well, because those impact all of those pieces. That impacts our class sizes, which impacts how we deliver programs. That impacts how we are able to schedule. It impacts whether we are creating singleton sections. We have a section of kindergarten, 2 sections of kindergarten at 2 different schools that are both singletons. That one is at, I think they're both actually at 24. One, we have a potential move in to go to 25. There are significant needs within that classroom already. How do we meet those? Do I have to tell that family that they need to go to another school where there is more room for the next 6 years? Do we bump that class and put it at 25, which may not even be sized appropriately at that for those numbers? How does that impact teaching and learning? How does that impact now first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade? And it will be the same group of students moving throughout. So singletons, I think, is a point that continues to exist that I want to make sure I hear it all the time from our staff and what those impacts are. And I want to make sure that that doesn't get lost in our long-term planning. Staffing, how we collaborate with our staff. Again, if I'm a singleton, my ability to collaborate is different than if I'm on a team of 4 or 5 other teachers. And then opportunities for inclusion, which directly ties in with special education, and how are we inclusive of all students across programs. So those are the things that continue to exist. They are not new things, but they are things that, again, we do not have the mechanisms right now in order to address them on a scale that will provide a sustainable and consistent and high quality environment for every child, regardless of their needs. So that's kind of the driving force behind it. Okay, so moving on from there, we know what those needs are. So now we have to plan for how we're going to strategically meet those needs through a really collaborative problem-solving process. So what we have talked about, a couple of these things that I want to highlight are, we're going to tonight approve a facilitated process with WOLD to embark on a long-range facility planning process that is going to involve community stakeholders, that is going to involve our internal staff. There's going to be representative groups. It is then going to help build understanding, awareness, and feedback that the board will need and use to develop the long-range plan about how we make decisions. With that, and what we want to overlay with that is the enrollment and boundary analysis and study with our demographer. So that will be coming in January. And if we choose, we will then have a kickoff and move. And that, as we said, it could be a January to October process. We can delay it, but it's going to be about that amount of time to really be collaborative. Simultaneously, while that is going on, we need to look at each of our programs and how they will be impacted. So for example, we have our existing dual language task force that has been convening and is very eager and ready to be a part of that process. We don't want to do that any longer in isolation. So that will be embedded within how this process works, as well as early childhood, TDP, and other impacted programs. Then I don't want to forget that strategic planning also should really be something that naturally comes out of this. When we have that long range plan, we can then easily identify our continued areas of need, how that gets broken down, and really provides some structure and guidance through the next 5 years, regardless of who's sitting at this table or out in the audience. What will be the community-based goals that will help drive us long term? So it all feels a little bit overwhelming, I'm sure, but what we need to make sure is happening at a governance level from the board is, what are the commitments that the board is willing to make, and how are you going to prioritize the work that needs to be done over the next X number of years? So with that, we want to look at, we have a wide variety of mechanisms that boards can utilize in order to drive change. You may like some, you may hate some, but these are some of the things that may come out of that long range process that you as a board are going to have to consider and weigh your options. So you may be faced with, do we expand buildings and do more construction? Do we implement boundary changes? If so, where? when, and who? And then might we consider how we utilize our facilities? Would we want to look at repurposing facilities? So for example, when we add, early childhood over at Ridge where there is space, or expanded ELS over to Juliet Low where there was space. Those are some of the things that we can look at from a facilities perspective. And then how do we program and group students to maximize our resources and really utilize economy of scale in our planning? We've talked about academy models around multilingual learners. We've talked about school within a school, so multiple programs within one school. We can talk about different grade configurations within a school. Ridge is now pre-K through 5. How might that look? And then as well as program placements. We've moved programs out of buildings and added them into new buildings. So all of those are mechanisms that you as a board will have to consider and reach consensus on in order to drive change, and hopefully do it in a way that's collaborative and you feel informed and prepared to make those decisions so that we don't end up in status quo for the next number of years. I think last, looking at timeline and next steps, what should you expect? So December, that's where we are today. We're going to be asking for the board to approve the WOLD long-range planning process. Then in January 20, we will be in 2025. Holy cow. We will be asking the board, hopefully in January, to approve a partner to conduct the enrollment and boundary study. And then whenever I put January through October, it could be any grouping of months that the board decides to really kick off that long-range planning process, which will then again embed the enrollment and boundary study, as well as all these other internal program task force that will need to provide feedback and work interdependently throughout that process. Questions and discussion from the board?
Thank you. This is perfect because it's something that I wanted to talk about, and I think the new year's a perfect time to do that. One thing that I would add, and it goes to that finance committee meeting, is this, like I would even say one of the other areas of need would be finances. Like as we go through this whole thing, knowing what options are going to cost, knowing, what the long-term financing looks like. So that's one that I don't want to lose sight of. And then I also want to, this is just me talking, so anybody feel free to jump in after. I don't want us to limit the options on the table to start. I would rather, brainstorm ideas and options and then kind of delete the ones that just don't make sense because it doesn't satisfy one or all these areas of need. But I do like how all these inputs, these data inputs in terms of what's the optimal look for the dual language program, what's the WOLD study. I like how they're all starting separate and they're converging. So we are getting kind of the facts before we come up with the solution versus the solution before we have the facts. So I like how that's going. And the only thing, I don't know how this fits into it and what the timing is or how long this takes because I wasn't a part of this. And, I don't know how it works for large public bodies, but I know it takes longer. Where does the strategic plan fit? Should we come up with a strategic plan that then drives this, or should they be kind of simultaneous? Because after this year, we have a year and a half, and I'm sure coming out of all of this is going to guide kind of how we measure the success of what we're doing now. That seems to be what the strategic plan would be. So I don't know if alongside this, there's the strategic plan is also happening versus we do all these changes and then have the strategic plan to fit these changes or vice versa.
Yeah, so I think just to answer that for a little bit of awareness and discussion, that what will come out of the WOLD piece is an identification. I think what's important to note, and the demographer said this as well, you are going to get all the facts. You are going to get all the data, which the data is irrefutable, right? Everyone should be able to get it, trust it. Okay, this is all the information. Now, what do we do with it? How do we prioritize it? So that will be part of the community focus that WOLD will help facilitate. So you'll get input from the community in terms of what are its values? What are the things that they want to see prioritized, which I think is going to dovetail really nicely then to take that end process and kick off strategic planning. So then we have direction, but then we can drill down to what are the specific goals that we're going to be working on for the next 5 years, and what are the measures for success that we'll use to ensure that we're reaching them. So you're going to get the data, review, input, feedback, start your prioritization that will then lead into strategic planning would be my initial thoughts. So if we're ending around October or later, that's like the perfect time to kick off strategic planning, because you'll want to do that next year so you have it completed for year one kickoff, July 1, 2026.
Okay, yeah, I guess if anybody disputes that like these are the areas of need, I would speak now, because yeah, we're going to do a lot of the work before.
Well, and I think that's the big thing. And I know that we've seen people that might not have said their thoughts right away and kind of held things back. So I think we just need to be, as a group, very honest and ask our questions so there are no surprises, and that we are just putting it all out there, right? If we have any questions, we ask them, and if we are hesitant about something, we need to state that right then and there so we can, come up with whatever we need to not have that hesitation, or, be able just to kind of move forward. And I think that's something that to build that trust, to build all that, we really just have to be honest with ourselves.
TR, were you just asking us to speak up now if there's other areas of need?
Well, yeah, if there's like something in there, if there's something in there that you don't see that won't get covered somehow, like through this process that we might be missing. But I mean, basically in there's like facilities, programming, and we may not be able to focus on every single program. And like we may say, okay, this will not help fix this program, but we see that this program is of higher need. So like we can prioritize we can't fix everything all at once, right? So I think those main pillars, programming, facilities, what was the other one?
Enrollment.
Yeah, like capacity, like they're kind of all intertwined, but underneath those, there's the dual language program, there's the TDP program, like early childhood. So I think during the process, we need to prioritize maybe which of these programs we think could have the greatest impact in helping now versus helping later versus helping like in the intermediate. Is there anything on there that you don't
Well, I
see?
mean, it may be embedded in there, but I mean, it always helping, providing more support for students who are behind grade level. I know we have an MTSS system, but I'd like to expand on that, or to provide earlier intervention. So I would like to see that maybe in the programming section.
So I think, and I don't expect us all to have our answers like tonight, because we're just
No, right.
Yeah.
It's just, we're just putting it out there.
Yeah.
And if now is our time to speak up.
But I think it does bring up a point, and I don't know if this comes into, maybe they all have to be open meetings or what the issues are, but I would like to, we don't necessarily need to be driving it, but I don't want there to be any surprises or, us to get updated, monthly, and then say, no, go back to the draw. Like if any board member who wants to be involved in whatever meetings happen, because maybe somebody's really interested in capacity issues, I don't know, just or specials. I want us to be able to be involved so that we can't say, I don't want any excuses that we weren't involved, that we have to take a step backwards because, right. If you have time, great. If you don't have time, great. But we don't want the board, I want things to be able to move as fast as they can, but also with fidelity. So.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on that, the WOLD study or the start of the WOLD study that we are going to approve tonight, I'm just looking at, their proposal, and the first item is create a long-range planning committee. I'd really like the board to have a role in who is on that committee. Yeah, because I definitely have some thoughts, and I think we all maybe do. I'm not sure that's how it usually works, if when these forces, task force are.
Yeah, typically we have 2 representatives from the board who serve on those.
Yeah, and I'm not even saying that I'm hoping for, but even who else might be on, like what other individuals maybe in the community or other experts. I'd like to have some input on
For
that.
sure.
So I just have a question on timeline. So a lot of this is going to involve staff input, and we're going to have a summer occurring somewhere during this timeline. When are staff most available? Is it right? Like when's best for these task forces to be meeting?
Yeah, so obviously during the school year, when school is in session, is when we would prioritize those opportunities. So it's kind of like when we did the educational alignment studies, they front loaded all of the focus groups and data input while the staff were here. And then the summers when they were doing their background work. So that might be where they're doing a little bit more of the boundary analysis that doesn't require the staff input and convening of the committees. So how we time it out will be where it is most appropriate and available for staff, which would be during the school year.
Yeah, and I along with that, I would also caution that there's only a certain amount of volunteers in terms of our stakeholders, parents and members of the community. And we're going to require a lot of input and a lot of work from them. And I worry that we need to take into account that the timeline needs to not burn them out, because if we're going to do strategic plan and this long range planning, as you know, there's only so many people out there who will put in the time. And so we need to just be a little cautious about respecting everyone's timeline.
And I know the last strategic plan was I think it was at least 4 full day events that we were in this building and we were working with the company. Is it always the same company? I don't.
No,
Okay.
the board can, so we
Okay,
can
he
bring
was great,
forth,
yeah. Okay.
proposals and then choose.
I think there might be like a lot of redundant work where we can probably, I feel like the strategic plan is going to be more, all right, we have these ideas, how do we roll them out over the next 5 years? Because we don't want to rip a Band-Aid off and say, you're going here now. But so this, and how we measure the success of all this work that we're going to be doing. So
That's where that company will come look at what we've done. And the gentleman that was there basically like streamlined the areas that we were looking at and, what were our questions, what were our answers, things like that. And we all work together.
So if I'm looking at these areas of needs, we really we being the district, drive the programming part, Wold, and a lot, obviously always in collaboration with us, kind of more drives the facilities part, and the enrollment boundary studies is another company. Right.
And they will work in partnership together.
Right.
So that's what I've already let every demographer we're meeting with, we've already informed them, and Wold already knows that.
And that's
the
all
expectation.
kind of like Wold helping move this forward along with our leadership team is kind of this proposal, right?
Yes, correct.
Sounds good to me. Anything else? Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
Where are we? All right. Consent agenda. So item 6.01 through 6.09. Does anybody need anything pulled from the consent agenda? If not, can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion? If not, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Zach, absent. Eddie? Aye. Johnson?
Aye.
Kitzinger?
Aye.
Notini? Aye. Sager?
Aye.
Chesney, absent.
Okay. Motion passes. Action item 7.01, the approval of the 25-26 school calendars. If I could get a motion to approve the school calendars as presented.
I'll make the motion.
I'll
Be-
second.
That's good enough.
Sorry.
Good. Any discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Eddie, aye. Johnson?
Aye.
Kitzinger?
Aye.
Notini? Sager?
Aye.
Chesney, absent. And Zach, absent.
All right, motion passes. 7.02, approval of the 25-26 holidays. Is it on the screen? Okay. If I could get a motion to approve the list of 25-26 holidays.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call vote.
Johnson.
Aye.
Kitzinger.
Aye.
Notini.
Aye.
Sager.
Aye.
Chesney absent. Zach absent. Eddie. Aye.
Okay, 7.03, if I could get a motion to approve the levy, total levy in the amount of $106,783,401.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? Ron, is that the right amount?
You missed a penny. I would like to actually, though, bring up really quickly that as part of a public act, there's a Miller ratio that is being put into practice where there's essentially a fund balance reduction plan. They look at the 10, the 20, and the 40 fund, which are operating funds. If you have twice as much as what you normally expend in a 3-year period, you actually then are liable to not having a levy. Right now we're at, just like what the auditor said, a little over 10 months, and which is like amounts to 0.7. But again, we do have a strong 60 fund, and that's kind of what we're doing with it. So.
Okay, anybody else? All right, if we have a roll call vote.
Aye.
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 absent. Zach absent. Eddie. Aye. Johnson.
Aye. All right, motion passes. Next is the authorization of the reduction of certain fund levies.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All right, motion is second. Any discussion? If not, we have a roll call vote.
Yes, maybe. Okay. Notini. Aye. Sager.
Aye.
Chesney absent. Zach absent. Eddie. Aye. Johnson.
Aye.
Kitzinger.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. 7.05 is the report and authorization to file the annual financial report for FY 2024 with the ISBE. Can I have a motion to authorize the filing?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second. Any discussion? Okay, roll call vote.
Oh, hold on. Hold on. Skipped a page. Sager.
Aye.
Chesney absent. Zach absent. Eddie. Aye. Johnson.
Aye.
Kitzinger.
Aye.
Notini. Aye.
All right, motion passes. 7.07 is the approval, 7.06 is the approval of the NSSEO facility planning.
And I want to make that motion.
Go for it.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Now you can do a roll call vote.
All right. Chesney absent. Zach absent. Eddie. Aye. Johnson.
Aye.
Kitzinger.
Aye.
Notini. Aye. Sager.
Aye.
All right, that motion passes. 7.07 is the approval of Wold's proposal for long facilities planning in the amount of $35,000. Can I get a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? If not, roll call vote.
35,000 plus reimbursables.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Zach absent. Eddie. Aye. Johnson.
Aye.
Kitzinger.
Aye.
Notini.
Aye.
Sager.
Aye.
Chesney absent.
All right, and then lastly, 7.08.
So
Oh, I'll make the motion. Oh,
I'd like to do that one.
Okay,
go for it.
I was there when they were approving.
Go ahead.
So the District 59 Educational Foundation would like to donate a total of $13,570.64 to the Empowerment Fund and 7 CCSD59 schools as broken down in this resolution. And I make the motion.
I'll second.
Great. Any discussion, questions? I can do a roll call. Oh, go ahead.
I would just say this is the first batch of the mini grants that were approved by the Educational Foundation, and there are still the application is still open. So staff out there, if you got some time this holiday break, maybe put in an application.
Great. Roll call vote.
All right. Eddie. Aye. Johnson.
Aye.
Kitzinger.
aye.
Notini.
Aye.
Sager.
Aye.
Chesney absent. Zach absent.
All right, motion passes. Thank you.
So TR, to reference what you asked before, like you saw 10,000 of that is
Yeah.
going directly to all of those things that
Okay.
we just talked
Perfect.
about with them, which is amazing.
That was great. Okay, so 8.01 is the Innovation Staff Advisory Team update.
Yeah, so as Dr. Bresnan had mentioned, last month our team met for the first time. There are 25 staff members on this team. I do want to take a second to say thank you to those staff members. They will be watching. If they're not watching now, they will watch the archive. So they are very excited about this work, as am I. So this work really is focused on what does innovation mean for our district. The most immediate focus area is on the student device refresh. That will be taking place this summer, this upcoming summer. And we wanted to provide a little bit of information for the board. At the end of this update, I do have a couple questions. The team wants to make sure that any information that the board would like us to provide back to you before you make that before you act on the recommendation in the spring, that you have that information that we can provide for you. So a little bit of background on our student device refresh. So we have historically used Chromebooks in our district for grades K through 8. That refresh cycle has been every 4 years. It is at an approximate cost of about $2.5 million for the refresh, depending on the devices that we select, and our enrollment depends because we typically frame the approval item based on student enrollment because we have to provide a device for each child that we have. We currently use that 4-year refresh, but the group would like to know and would like to evaluate whether 4 years is the right number of years for a student device refresh. That's something we're evaluating right now. We're also evaluating all device types, all device functions, features, and really what I'm proud of is the group is first focusing not on a specific device type, but what is it we want the devices to do and the students to do with those devices in the class. I think that's a really important point to reinforce and share publicly. Sometimes there's a perception that because we have a device that we use daily, that means all day, daily. And our district really embraces a balanced approach. When you go into the classrooms, you've probably all done school visits and site visits, and you've seen a lot of the times the students are still doing work with pencil paper, hands, very tactile. We want both the analog learning that happens, but we also want the digital because we know the modern workplace is a digital workplace by and large. So we want to make sure we provide a balance to prepare our students for their future. So with that, we're looking at components like artificial intelligence, components like collaboration, which tools, which suites work best. The group's going to get into those after we look first at the device itself. So we're going to continue to provide you updates, but that last part here, these two questions, specifically, if you have feedback for the team, we're meeting next week, and we'd really like to talk through the best way to present you the information that you need. Because I don't know if you want to know more information about the refresh, given that most of you weren't here for the last one. So if there's information we can be providing for you when you vote on that, that would be helpful. If you're thinking if there's anything you want to know about the device themselves, about the functions, the features, whatever that is, specific to what we as a group can provide to you, we'd love to be able to do that.
Sorry.
So you mentioned the possibility of changing the 4-year schedule. I could see it going either way. Is it shorter or longer? Because I could see shorter, you're updating more often and getting new technology into the hands of students, and longer, well, Chromebooks last longer nowadays. So
yeah, and that is the question. So industry standard right now for education is 3 to 5 years. Typically, we're right in the middle of that at 4. The devices this year are in their 4th year, and we do have, and with their 4 years, they've been used for 4 years. So devices do, especially a device like this, that isn't a full-scale aluminum shelled laptop, will over time just have wear. And so we're seeing that this in this 4th year, and this has been typically with our refresh cycle, this 4th year is the year where we just have more breakage, just given the age of the devices. So the group was interested in looking potentially at 3 years. as you mentioned, to allow for another device to be selected. Things are changing rapidly. I did want to share too some of the core functions the group looked at, and we have elicited student feedback as well, and we'll continue to do that. The touch screen was an important element. A keyboard is an important element. The ability to collaborate is really important with students. Durability is very important. So we've started an initial running list of those features that the group really wants to see us provide. But we're open to evaluating different platforms as well. We currently use a Chromebook, but we want to look at an iPad. We want to look at whatever is available right now. And then we don't want, because what we currently have is what we have, we don't want that to limit us thinking if there is a device change, it would be a lot of work to change platforms, and we don't want that to be the driver for why we wouldn't if there was a compelling case. But I liked what one of our participants said, we're starting with the Chromebook, and right now I feel like our task is, and this was one of our 8th grade teachers, he said, beat the Chromebook. He said, if we're going to present that, how do we present a case that says that a different device would be better? So I really appreciate the openness of the group to say, let's let the options, the features, what it will mean for students and staff drive what we would be presenting to the board.
The only thing that I would mention is if you go to, I mean, kids are resilient, obviously, but if you switch up, how much time will that take for students to learn teachers to learn a new operating system?
Yeah, the students are pretty adaptable, as are our staff, but the staff would probably need more support given the switch over with resources, new apps, just getting more comfortable would probably take more professional development time for our staff. And then students, we would certainly support them through that if we go that direction. I don't want to present the case as if I'm saying and building you up for a inevitable platform change. But I also, again, don't want to be short-sighted and not consider everything. If there's something that's better for our kids, that's what we want to pursue.
Yeah, I would ultimately take whatever your recommendation is. So for me, obviously cost, durability. I mean, I would prefer to have them longer than shorter amounts of time. I mean, see what my kids put them through. They're pretty durable. And I don't know how often, or that seems like a huge lift to get 5,000 new devices ready. And so when does your replacement, like the time that you spend replacing them or fixing them, when does that become more than it would be to just replace them all?
Yeah.
Be kind of like a benchmark to look at to me.
Yeah.
One thing I would like to know, and I think this might be just with all the studies and stuff that are going on, is the district looking towards like a STEAM or a STEM class, especially for like the younger students? And what are some of the apps or some of the different, components of technology that they use? Like in my district, there might be 1 or 2 actual computers that have specialized programs on it, but all the students use their Chromebooks or their iPads. So, thinking about checking in maybe with other districts that have STEAM or STEM to see what other, programs, if they do need different devices.
And it is
That would
a
be-
big celebration that we have just this past summer implemented a really significant
Right.
STEM implementation that goes through our LRCs, which means all students get the chance to experience it. And if you have been to a school, I know a few of you have been and shared with me, I have yet to go to a school and have a staff member or a student say, I really don't like the STEM stuff. That's really boring. It's so much fun to watch them. And if you get the chance, please go to the LRC and check it out because it's really amazing. But I agree, that's the start. We wanted it to be the starting point to continue to build those dispositions within kids, to embrace STEM, work with 214 to make sure we're building up and providing a pathway for their future into the experiences they'll have in 214.
Yeah, I just had 2 comments. One was it seems as though we spend a lot of money repairing the Chromebooks. Would that be a fair statement?
It is, but it also can be a little misleading in the fact that some of those devices are under the protection plan we have from families. So it's an optional plan for families to invest $25 for the year that covers accidental damage. So when you see those lists each month, know there is an offset to some of that.
Okay.
Also with some of that cost, If a student is deliberately damaging the device, we will charge the families for that repair. So the district isn't incurring all of that cost. Some of it is, if it's accidental, we're not going to charge a student if it's an accident, because we understand we're asking them to use it in class. So if it truly was an accident and wasn't negligence and wasn't purposeful damage, then we'll support. So there is a balance. It is not as much as what you see.
Okay, because I
and
just see that
yes,
long list.
Yes,
It's like
it
the
is a long
same
list,
for
but
each one.
yeah, it is a lot of it
huge.
is offset cost.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
And the other question was, are we considering maybe a different device for junior high students?
We could, and the group talked about the different needs for primary, so K2, potentially a smaller device or a device that's more touch-centric, but staff still felt like a keyboard to some degree is important. We're also talking about a stylus. Stylus input is important. The junior high arts and the math teachers were saying it'd be really nice to have students be able to do the math problems with the stylus. So yes, we're looking at whichever is the most appropriate across multiple grade bands, not just junior high.
And I believe high school, or 214 high schools use an iPad.
214 does, as
Yeah.
does 25. The other center districts use Chromebooks. So we are going to gather all of that as part of what we're looking at, because it is a combination of devices.
Any questions? I do also like I don't know, I saw a news report, I don't know where it was, where like AI is becoming more, you're not going to avoid it. So, but it's like an AI that is almost like a tutor, where it's not giving you the answer. It's like getting you to the answer and like working through with you or asking you questions back. So I like that you're thinking about that
And
too.
I think that's what's huge, is getting ahead of AI, so then the kids don't learn different ways of using AI.
If you
We'll
allowed
just
me
say
to
that.
talk about AI right now, unfortunately, we would be here for quite some time. Very excited about that. But I think that's an important item that the task force wants to consider, because you hear a lot about this, but what does it mean for our students? What does it mean for us in our lives? What does it mean for the future of work? What does it mean for the future of so many things? So if we can present that and share it with you in a way that makes sense, but allows us to be thoughtful in how we implement that and work with students on that, is what's really important to us. So yeah, I'm excited to share updates on that as well.
Okay, good.
If there's anything else, if you want to email me or send me any thoughts, I know the committee would love to hear any of your questions, present what you need as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Ben. 8.02, the enrollment boundary study.
So I think we've really talked about this already. So we've looked at 2, we have 1 more, and then hopefully we'll be presenting a recommendation in January.
When you present that recommendation, it's not like because of a bid, it's just
They submit proposals. Yeah, it's exempt from, like, we don't have to
Okay.
go through like
So-
a formal RFP, but they are submitting proposals. We review them and we'll kind of deliberate and pros and cons about what, a lot of it is that I'm seeing is what is their work in our local area,
right,
that would be relevant and understand our area.
And
is
do we
important.
know if any of them have ever worked with Wold?
We would know that, yes. in
Okay, 'cause
asking
that
them,
would be-
yes.
yeah.
Mhm. And in fact, Wold provided us with recommendations because they have currently worked with some, so, which is very helpful in our local area. It's also very helpful. Good question.
I have a question about just working with a demographer. I'm not sure what exactly they do, but one thing I just think that would be helpful, and I don't know if this is what they do, but it would be to survey the communities that they are looking at to understand if there are school-age children in the home, and or there will be, and if they are in school, which school do they go to? Private school, public school? I just think it's important to understand how many students potentially could be in our buildings. I mean, do you know? Do they look at that, or can we ask about that?
Or even like, but to piggyback, so I don't like trends, like this is the eye test, but I see more kids on their bikes around my house nowadays, right? But I don't know if that means anything, or kids are just learning to ride bikes, or I don't know.
Yeah, they utilize census data. They utilize our local data. They look at birth rates, building construction. All of that goes really comprehensively for them to build out projections for what I think we got a 10-year projection last time, which, obviously each year you go out, it becomes less and less reliable. But previously, I will say before COVID and before some of our, world situations that have impacted, our newcomer population, they were fairly close to what their projections were in the past. So that is part of what they look at. Yeah.
I guess the private school question is one that I have. Let's just say a private school, suddenly closed, which does happen these days.
Which just happened this past year.
Right. Yeah. St. Zachary.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. Just want to understand if all those students, or most of them probably live in the nearby area, if they all would suddenly come to our schools.
For
I
sure.
just, I think you'd have to either ask people, approach the schools. I'm not sure how we would get that data.
Yeah. And those are shared partnerships too. Yeah.
Most are, they enroll kids based on, they know their home district, some do not, but we have worked with some of the locals in the past to get that information.
Yeah, I'd just like that to be part of this, however we have to get the information.
And we have responsibilities, like legal responsibilities to students, whether they attend our public schools or not,
Mhm.
in terms of some of their services. So it is always good active data that we try to have updated on.
Mhm.
Okay, reports of the Board of Education. I don't have a report, but we'll start with Joe.
So the Educational Foundation meeting, the most recent one, they started approving a group of mini grants, and we saw the approval of that today, over $13,000 that goes directly into the classrooms and into the experiences for our students. So that was really nice, and it's an ongoing process where they're still taking in applications for that. I was the delegate for the IASB Delegate Assembly, and all the proposals did exactly what we voted and followed the recommendations of the Resolutions Committee. So all the resolutions did exactly what we thought they were going to do. I guess I would point out for the public who doesn't know, we go to the III conference, which is a conference for sort of the school board members, and there's lots of training opportunities for us. It's our time for professional development where we can see what other districts are doing and train up as school board members and try and bring that back home. So I attended a talk by District 25 about steps to implement equity processes, and I found that really informative, and I thought it was a really good discussion. So that's what I have.
This was my first time going to the III, and it was very, very informative. The central theme, I think, that I saw, unless maybe I was just going, was trust. And I think that is a big thing of how to build trust. And I really want to work with our board to build trust with everyone out in the community and all that. And then tomorrow is John Jay's 4th and 5th grade music show. So I look forward to that.
I also attended my first III conference. I thought it was very informative. Actually, Nikki and I, we both attended a session on English learners. That was very informative. There was people from Woodstock, Berwyn were there talking about their experiences, similar to ours. Also a session on effective board meetings, and also an interesting one was what your superintendent can't tell you. Although that's not really what it was, honestly. I was a little, maybe there was a little bit, but I think they just tried to hook us with that one. But so that was that. The second thing is our first communications committee meeting occurred. Lucas and I are representatives there, and I appreciate that Ben and Rachel asked us is there anything really on our minds that we want to talk about? So we were able to do that. And then also Lucas and I were each tasked to reach out to the other board members to find out what we would like to do as a board to address the significant section of the audits about the board and how we need to really, communicate more, connect with our community. So I will be, Lucas and I will be reaching out to you all to talk a little bit about that. And the last thing is just a little personal shout out. The Mount Prospect Neighbors Help for the Holidays program is going to be getting together to wrap all our gifts for, I don't want to say the number wrong, maybe it's around 30 families. I'm sorry if I got the number wrong, but District 59's community outreach team helps us significantly with identifying the families for that program. So I'm sorry, I should have mentioned that before, but I will be participating with that on Sunday.
Right. I've been visiting some schools over the last few weeks. I went to the opening night for Channeling Grimm at Grove. It was phenomenal. Those kids are hilarious. They are great actors. I think they have good future. I love drama, and it was right up my alley. So that was awesome. Also attended the Ridge second grade musical, Turkeys Go on Strike. Awesome costumes, cute little kids, can't pass it up. Fourth grade at Ridge, also, my daughter is in fourth grade, so we were at the holiday show and they sang a bunch of holiday tunes and, wore their best dresses and, looked all fancy. That was great. Last week at the beginning of the week, we had Penguin Patch at Ridge, and I was a volunteer. I just want to thank our FTO and all the FTOs because I know there's a lot going on right now, just trying to get kids ready for the holidays and excited about picking their perfect gift for their family or friend or teacher. And then yesterday I was at Rupley for the music and art show. It was amazing. It was singing, dancing. It was traditional Hispanic outfits. It was art that was, you know what it looked like? It looked like those scratch papers. It was like that black paper you get and then you can carve into it little pictures. It was beautiful. The families were amazing. People were clapping and singing along and dancing. And also they offered cookies at the end, which was great. And I think that was it. I just want to thank all the schools for their hospitality because I love coming to visit and see the kids and what they're doing. And everybody is so supportive, and seeing the families get together and be there for their kids, that's a wonderful thing. So that's all.
Great, thank you. No closed session tonight. Anything else, informational items?
No, just wishing everybody happy holidays. We have a week and 2 days left before the break. So wish everybody, and then board, we will be meeting next week on Wednesday at 6 p.m. And go pretty quickly into closed session. But happy holidays to everybody. And thank you to everybody who's put in a lot of work. And it's great to continue to recognize our amazing staff who are doing some great things, and all the programs and stuff that go with the holidays for our students. To recognize them is always awesome.
Great. All right. So then I just need a motion to adjourn.
Hold on, do I just get rid of these?
Yeah.
All right.
All right, I'll make the motion.
It is
8:05.
I will second.
All right. All those in favor? Aye.
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 All right.